Hey babes, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Brandy. I am the host of the Be Real Babe show, a spin-off of the Be Real Babe podcast. And you guys, we are talking about internet insanity today, going on my fourth week, I want to say, branching off these segments from the podcast and putting them here exclusively on YouTube. And last episode, you guys, I promised that I was going to come with something a little bit more lighter or funner, or at least just not deep, dark, and depressing, which I'm aware I've done to you guys, and I am so sorry, but not really, because I'm just looking at the internet, so be mad at the people that are insane online. So today I thought I would come to you guys with a couple wins that I found on the internet, and one funny story with a very weird twist in it that I was so excited about and thought I was bringing you guys such a good story, and then now I'm just disappointed. But I still want to bring it to you anyway. So if you were into hearing what I found on the internet this week that I'm going to consider 2 stories a win, 1/3 a flop, stick around and we'll get right into it. Okay, babes. Now, as I promised, so I'm starting my search and I'm looking back and I'm thinking, okay, all the topics I've covered so far, pretty dark, pretty insane. I'm not going to lie. Let's throw maybe the 4th one to a little bit more of a lighter episode, if you will. So the first story I was going through and I came across it on TikTok and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect funny story that we can bring. It's insane. It's online. It's light and funny. And then as I was about to get my notes ready, I found another backstory to this, another piece of the puzzle that just absolutely disappointed me. So I'm going to bring you along the journey of how I figured this out. And then we're going to jump into a win I personally am seeing, 2 wins actually in the courts. One on something I've never talked about, even though it is about Hollywood. And I think it's a really big win considering the situation. And then also we're going to talk about another win from a case that I did talk about. And let's talk about the elephant in the room. I'm sorry. I realized last time I came with the hat too, and then I'm just always such a mess because of the way that recording works. I'm usually doing the podcast on the weekends or keeping up with Canada, and I've been trying my best to get ahead of the internet insanity, but it's usually being recorded on a Sunday or a Monday, and you guys, that is when I do my craziest workouts. And I really, ladies will get this, but I'm going to have one of those extremely hot devil showers and get into my fresh sheets in bed. You know what I mean? So I decided to sacrifice my looks for this episode to be able to do that after. So apologies. You're getting real. I never said that I was be real, right? Not be perfect and showered. So apologies. I will promise to shower for the next one. So just let's get that out of the way. Anyway, so here's the story I came across. A 102-year-old woman was arrested this week after authorities uncovered a fully operational underground Little Caesars running out of her basement. Investigators say she has been selling $5 hot and readies to a steady stream of customers, some who've claimed her pizzas are way better than the real thing, a part of the caption read. So, honestly, now looking back, I don't know how on earth I possibly believe this. But it's not true, obviously. And so I went to go do this and there's more to the story and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so funny. People in the comments are like, oh, police have so much more to do than just arrest this old woman. I was like, yeah, I was right into it. I was like, oh my goodness, this is such a waste of resources. This is so silly. And then I went to go dive deeper into it. And here we go, finding right off the bat, a rumor surfaced online recently that 102-year-old American woman was taken into custody for running a Little Caesars pizza establishment out of her basement in Warren, Michigan. The Facebook account Macomb Breaking News first shared the claim on March 13th, 2025, the moment actually a couple weeks after, so I'm a little late to the game, as per usual. An image of an elderly woman being escorted by the police officers also accompanied alongside the post that read exactly what I just said. Now that it's gained a bunch of views, they have, I guess they're just a satire account, and it's all just funny and fun and games. And when I think back, you guys, 102, I don't know what I thought a 102-year-old woman would be doing, but I don't know how I didn't catch that one. I must have been really tired, but this story really captured me because I'm like, It was, officers raided the home and found stacks of pizza boxes, an industrial oven, and a handwritten sign that read 2 for $8, cash only. When confronted, she reportedly told police, "I've been making pizzas longer than you've been alive. What do they know?" And honestly, come on, someone's got to have a grandma or a noni out there that would have this kind of attitude, and sometimes they'll trick you. So I think now, looking back, like I said, I seen 102 now, and I'm thinking in my head, come on, you should have read that. You should have read into that. But I just thought, gosh, this is exactly what I needed in the world. I needed a story like this. I needed something so light and silly. And, I guess I got it. It wasn't real, but I got what I asked for. So I guess I really can't complain. So yeah, not me getting so excited thinking I was bringing you guys this funny little light story. Because, I was looking at Am I the Asshole and all that. And, there's so many good pages that do that. And there's so many as well. And then you're just sorting through them. And I got lost in the sauce. And I just went on TikTok and seen some lady sharing this. I'm not going to lie, guys. I really tried. I was really excited. I was like, this is what I needed. This is what I needed to bring to the peoples. And then, of course, we're fact checked. And a real fact check, yeah, okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I should have looked at the account. This is my bad. I was just so desperate for a happy story, okay? Okay, getting on to the first story, the first real story of the episode today. Ha 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 ha. I'm having some technical difficulties today, so I won't be screen sharing again. Last time I just didn't want to screen share because it was a disturbing story and I just didn't want to have that visual up on the screen. But today I'm having technical difficulties, and just like my hair that, it's trying to look, sometimes some girls can look cute when they're greasy and then some just look like a greasy rat. Anyway, so let's go through the first win. The first win here, Selena's killer, Yolanda Saldivar, denied parole 30 years later, family response. So to me, this is a really huge win. Again, I was super young when this all went down, but I know it was very huge at the time. And I know that Selena was very loved, and I know this shook the world around. And I know it's so important to talk about this stuff. I always feel bad because I feel like I'm talking about them in this light versus in the light that they should be remembered. But I just thought that this was really important to bring, because sometimes we feel like there's injustice in the world. And I feel like this one is a place I think we can see that justice is being served. So that's why I wanted to share it. But also, just like I said, now thinking of it, I'm like, oh goodness, I'm only talking about Selena, and it's in this memory and not in the memory of what beautiful artist she was and beautiful woman and all of the amazing talents that she had. And you could just see it in her picture, which I'll hopefully share on screen here, because I'm again having technical difficulties. What's new? But let's go through this. So Yolanda Saldivar, the woman who is serving a life sentence in prison for the 1995 murder of Trujano icon Selena Quintanilla Perez, has been denied parole. On Thursday, the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles issued a press release announcing that the three-person parole panel determined, after thorough consideration, that Saldivar should not be granted release on parole due to the nature of the offense. In 1995, she was convicted on the charge of murder with a deadly weapon. The panel's decision was based on her parole review file, which included confidential interviews, court documents, criminal history, information both in support and protest of her parole, institutional adjustment, and a statement provided by Saldivar. The record indicates that instant offense has elements of brutality, violence, assaultive behavior, or conscious selection of the victim's vulnerability, indicating a conscious disregard for the lives, safety, or property of others, such as the offender possesses and continues a threat to safety, the press release said. I think for this one too, being someone that was close, and not that I don't want to say that it makes it worse when you're close to, but I feel like, again, I guess that's every time I'm saying it sounds stupid. It's just like, oh, well, if it's a stranger, you're caught by surprise, but if someone's, you're caught by surprise always. But you know what I mean? I think that it blows my mind how some people can just hurt people that they care about. Anyways, not really relevant, but to me, I just think, a random person is awful too, do not get me wrong. But someone that how long have you been feeling that way? And anyways, this was the first time Saldivar was eligible for parole after serving 30 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division. She will have another chance for parole review on March in March 2030 per the press release. Selena died just shy of her 24th birthday in Corpus Christi, Texas, after Saldivar, the former president of the Selena fan club and a manager of Selena's clothing boutiques, whom Selena had learned was embezzling money, fatally shot Selena at the Days Inn hotel. Like, that's what I'm saying. And I'm not as familiar, and I definitely want to go back and learn a little bit more. Like I said, I was very little when this all went down, but I do remember how impactful it was. And I know to this day how many people still talk about the injustice that was served and how young she was and how she would have grown to be one of the biggest icons out there. And, it's super sad that got taken away from her. And I guess to do her memory service, I definitely am going to go jump in and figure out a little bit more what happened there. So I can get a full understanding of what happened. But her family responded, and it says that after the parole board's decision was made public, Selena's family and her husband, Chris Perez, issued a statement on social media that expressed gratitude that Salvador was going to remain incarcerated. Today, we are grateful that the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles has chosen to deny parole for Yolanda Saldivar. While nothing can bring Selena back, this decision reaffirms that justice continues to stand for the beautiful life that was taken from us and from millions of fans around the world far too soon. Selena's legacy is one of love, music, and inspiration. She lived with joy, gave selflessly, and continues to uplift generations with her voice and her spirit. As for her family and loved ones, we remain committed to preserving her memory and ensuring that her story is honored with the dignity and respect it deserves. We thank Selena's fans for their unwavering support throughout the years. Your love has been a source of strength and healing. We will continue to celebrate Selena's life, not the tragedy that took her from us, and we ask that you cherish her and do the same. The Quintanilla family and Chris Perez. So I'm going to do just that. I am going to go and look at her legacy. I'm pretty sure there was even a movie that was out by her, or about her. I remember watching it when I was younger, I believe, and I think in my mind I kind of related her to maybe Jennifer Lopez when Jennifer Lopez had her curly hair like that. So maybe that's where my brain is kind of linking the two. But that's a win, right? Especially the family feeling so blessed to feel like they, like you said, you can't bring anybody back. I know that's something I wish we could all do for people that have lost somebody. But at the end of the day, if someone took someone's life on purpose by accident, I do feel like they need to be held accountable. And accidents do happen for sure, of course. This wasn't an accident. So I feel like she needs to definitely be held, because if we're not punishing criminals, then what is stopping them from reoffending? Like, truly, honestly, though, like, if there's no repercussions and they just get a slap on their wrist, like, what's stopping people from being criminals, right? So I just truly feel like, we could do a little bit more there, but glad that we're doing the most here. I completely am happy to see this. Sounds like the family's really happy, so I'm really happy just to see it's not going to be closure, but just to ensure that someone like that isn't out and about and potentially doing those things again. But last real story of the episode, you guys, I think I might be a record. This might be the fastest one I've done. Not that I'm trying to be fast at these, but I am trying not to dawdle and say random shit. I'm trying to remember I'm on YouTube. I'm not on podcasts. But this last one, I'm going to try and share my screen. I know I said I was having issues, but let me give it a try. Please pray for me. I'm struggling so hard. After Ruby Franke abuse case, Utah tightens law on influencers. Hell yeah. Utah has passed a law to protect child influencers after the abuse conviction of mother of 6, Ruby Franke. Governor Spencer Cox signed a law on Tuesday that gives adults a path to scrub any digital content they were featured in as minors from any platforms. It also requires parents to set money aside for children featured in online content. Franke posted regular videos of her seemingly tight-knit Mormon family to her now defunct YouTube channel, 8 Passengers, before viewers raised alarm about her disciplinary methods. She was later charged with and pleaded guilty to 4 felony counts of child abuse. Talked about it on the podcast before. She was a part of what in the actual internet, where the internet insanity saga came from. Franke's now ex-husband, Kevin Franke, told lawmakers in February that he wished he had never let her post their children's lives online and use them for profit. Sir, you're not a victim here, just by the way. Children cannot give informed consent to be filmed on social media, period, he said. Vlogging my family, putting my children into public social media was wrong and I regret it every day. Utah is a hotbed for lucrative family blogging industry with its large nuclear families and religious lifestyles. The reality show The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives brought widespread attention to a group of Utah-based Mormon mothers and TikTok creators known as Mom Talk, who create content about their families and faith. The content creation industry is largely unregulated, but laws in Illinois and Minnesota allow children to sue parents who do not set aside money for them. Utah law goes further, allowing content featuring minors to be taken down. Yes. The one thing that I struggle with the most when it comes to family vlogging, and I've talked about this on the show probably ad nauseum, is that if your content is based on your children, for one, they're not able to give informed consent if they even want to be on there. If they're saying yes, they don't really know. There's got to be some form of manipulation. I'm sorry. And yes, maybe most of them are good, but come on. If we're being real here, we all know that we all have bad days. Like, I don't have children, but I can imagine every single mom has a bad day, and no shade to you guys, but I'm sure you have bad moments. So to sit here and act like, there's no way that you're not coaxing your kids on the bad days to try and make money, that's where I struggle. Because then if your content is based on your kids and your kids all of a sudden turn around and decide that they don't want to be a part of that anymore, where does that go for you? I just see a lot of the times people are using these children as cash cows to make their money on social media. And that part bothers me so much. And that's why I did talk about the Ruby Franke situation, because she was one of the first ones that it was, in my opinion, visible what was going on, but then you're just like, oh, I don't know everything and I don't want to be judgmental. And then bam, this story comes out and I'm right. Well, a lot of people were calling it out. I'm not just saying me, of course not, but like validated. And I did not want to be. It disgusted me what I stumbled across and how I got validated for this, but let's continue. The son escapes home leads to investigation. If you're not familiar, the Franke children were featured predominantly in videos posted up to 5 times a week to an audience of 2.5 million in 2010. 2 years later, Ruby Franke stopped posting to the family channel and began creating parenting content with therapist Jody Hildebrandt, who encouraged her to contact with Kevin Franke and move her 2 youngest children into Hildebrandt's southern Utah home. The women were arrested on child abuse charges after Ruby Franke's emancipated 12-year-old son, Russell, escaped through a window and knocked on a neighbor's door. The neighbors noticed his ankles were wrapped in bloody duct tape and called 911. As you can see, officers then found 9-year-old Eve, the youngest Franke child, sitting cross-legged in a dark closet in the Hildebrandt's house, and her hair buzzed right off. The women were each sentenced up to 30 years in prison. In handwritten journal entries, Ruby Franke insists repeatedly that her son is possessed by the devil and describes a month of daily abuse that included starving her children and forcing them to work for hours in the summer heat without protection. Hoping to strike content gold. In a memoir published after her mother's arrest, Sherry, the eldest child, described how Ruby Franke's obsession with striking content gold and chasing views led her to view her children as employees who needed to be disciplined. Sherry wrote that her mother directed the children like a Hollywood producer and subjected them to constant video surveillance. She has called herself a victim of family vlogging. Agreed, girl. Under the Utah law, online creators who make more than $150,000 a year from content featuring children will be required to set aside 15% of those earnings into a trust fund that the kids can access when they turn 18. Parents of child actors appearing in TV or films will be also required to place a portion of their earnings in a trust. Eve Franke, the youngest child, wrote a statement to lawmakers that had the power to protect other kids from exploitation. I'm not saying YouTube is a bad thing. Sometimes it brings us together, she wrote. But kids deserve to be loved, not used by the ones that are supposed to love them the most. So fucking heartbreaking. And 100%. The fact that that even has to be said is diabolical, insane. I don't know what other words I could possibly use. That's why this woman frustrates me so much, especially with someone who struggles of having a kid. And then you have kids and then you use them and you exploit them. And I get it. We want to share our kids. I totally understand that. I can imagine, I want to share my cats with everybody. I couldn't imagine what that's like when you have kids. I'm sure you want everybody to see them. At the same time, just be aware of what you're doing. Like, I've said this so many times before, like, please stop exploiting your kids. If you want to share the struggles of a parent, you want to share what you're doing in your life, why can't you blur the kids' faces out, change their names, ask if they want to be in the videos, or furthermore, just share all of that without showing them. Like, why is that so hard? If your content is good and you are good, that should be enough. You shouldn't. And if you're going to have your kids in there, okay, let's just play devil's advocate. I know there's there's good ones out there. Don't come for me. I do struggle because I think kids don't really know when they're saying yes at this age. But okay, say you do it safely and you change their name, you don't share their location, you're really doing it smart. How do we really know what that's going to be like down the road too, right? And so I think it could be left in the drafts. I guess what I'm saying is, like, at minimum, even if you don't have laws protecting these kids, you should be putting money away. You shouldn't just be making money off of these kids. Like, point blank, period. So at least if you're going to do that. But I am glad to see that the conversations are being had, they're happening, they're looking at things differently. They're actually looking at YouTube and content creators, just like they were starting to with celebrities and stuff like that. So hopefully more and more states and more places, and hopefully Canada, we get on board with that, because I'm not saying your kids shouldn't be in your content. I know that's my crazy conspiracy brain just being like, don't show them to anybody. But at the same time, like, please just don't exploit them at the end of the day. That just seems to be the theme of every fucking episode here. It's just like, don't exploit the kids. Just don't. Anyways, you guys, I'm so sorry for a short, discombobulated episode. A month in of running this and the podcast, and it's quarter end. I'm going a little crazy, but the sun is coming out. Things are getting brighter and lighter. Politics are nice and hot and heavy, so don't forget to keep up with Canada. That was posted on a Monday because I actually, as shockingly enough, talk about trafficking, but right here in Canada. But if you like this episode, thank you so much. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications. I really appreciate you guys being here and being patient while I work through this, changing from being a podcaster and now trying to be a part-time YouTuber too. But I just really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Until next time, bye!